Okay, this video is about two things. One, about saving and loading your game, and ice. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the save and load. So you see on the screen here it says if you already saved the game, press F2 to load game once you start playing. So once you start playing, you can press F2 to load the game if it's already been saved already. So the first level, there's not going to be a save. So you move to the second level, then it'll automatic save. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so that in front of you on the floor is ice. I'll talk about that in a minute. He's going to slide on it because it's ice, but I'm going to talk about the save and load for right now. So I'm going to grab the key. Grab that crystal. Let me grab the guns. Okay, so now it's going to save automatic in that location. Alright, so let me exit out. Let me go back into it and I will press Alright, so I'm going to, here you cannot press F2 to load because you haven't started playing yet. So see, it's saved. So it has all your items in it that I collected in the first room. I have my gun, and you can see at the top that I shot one gunshot in the first room. And this score thing here, I'm going to show you how to get rid of that, because this right here is when I collected the crystal, and he gained 1, but remember I talked about the count for the crystal in the previous videos where it's not accurate, so I'm going to get rid of this text up here. I'll show you how to do that. And one other thing I want to talk about that I'm not showing, but I'm just going to talk about. In the second room here, it's not very long. You know, you can tell it's got walls on all sides here. But if you were to extend these walls further back, I would suggest to make walls not too far away from the character, because if you make a long wall extend to a greater distance, there's a glitch in this fake 3D program where you'll see the sky, and there will be a black opening in the middle, and like there's, you know, you have walls there, but they're open. So make sure that when you extend the second room here that you make walls like I did right here. So you have a wall here, you'll have a wall here, and then you'll have an opening right here. Then you'll have a wall not too far away, and then you have to move this direction and then go down the wall here this way. You just got to have walls that are kind of close to the player, because if you have them too far away, you will see flaws in the distance. So just be aware of that when you create the second room and other rooms, that you put walls not too far away from the character in the distance, because if you don't have any walls for a while and they stretch at a distance, you'll see flaws. I mean, you can mess with the fog, but I messed with fog and you can still see a flaw in it in the distance. Maybe not. I think if you do fog for black, it might work, but if you do any other color besides black, fog, you'll see flaws in the game in the distance. So you want to make sure you put walls pretty close to the player, and then when you move in either directions and then have an opening, you won't see the flaw because it's got walls not too far away from the character. So just to point that out. Alright, so let me show you what I did for the load and save, and then I'll talk about the ice. So in this first script here, it says game saved. It's this basic text that I did in Photoshop and brought into the GameMaker 8.1. So do a crate, then you're going to do, let me extend this out here. Alright, so do a crate, then you go to your main 2 tab, drag over timer, set it to 50 milliseconds, alarm 0, then grab the alarm 0 from add event, do another 50 milliseconds, alarm 0, and then it's going to destroy that text, set it to self, and then you have a step event. The step event I've already talked about before in the past. Use the view, X view, and the Y view settings, 200, so that's going to make the text be in the middle of the screen, and it's going to follow the character when you use this draw event, and then it's going to disappear after 50 milliseconds. Alright, and the depth's minus 1000. So that's the first thing. Also, let's see, in the room 2, you have a question mark here. In that question mark, there's no sprint, there's just an object save, that's why it's a question mark. You do a crate, and then you want to do a gain sound. The audio is the main one. Then you have save the game. So, and just to let you know that GameMaker Studios, they took out the save and load icons. I don't know why, but probably because there was issues with the Android device, so they took out the icons, but it works fine for GameMaker 8.1 for PC. So this save the game icon is going to be located in the main 2 tab. Drag that over, and then you can change this file name to whatever you want, but the default is save game. I just left it at save game because I'm sure if you change the name here, you'll have to change it in the load file, which I'll talk about in just a minute. So this is visible, but it doesn't show on screen. I mean, you have to have it visible, I believe, for this thing to work, but it's not going to show when you play the game, of course. Alright, so, and it's a question mark icon because there's no sprint. So that's the question mark there for the save. You don't have to put that question mark save in the first room. Put it in the second room because it doesn't make sense to have it in the first room because you got to beat the first stage to actually save it. And the way the save works, it's going to save at the beginning of the second stage. It doesn't matter where you're at in the game. If you decide to do a key press versus just have an automatic save, you can do a key press. So if you move somewhere in the second room, third room, whatever, and then you press save using a key press, it's only going to save at the beginning of the second room, third room, whatever. It's not going to save your actual position later down in the game. So that's the only drawback that the save and load does. So it's not going to save your position So make sure, just be aware of that. So if you move over in this location here and you save it, when you load it back up, you're going to be in this spot when you started. So wherever you started in the second room, that's where it's going to save at when you begin the room. Okay, so that's the save. The load, same thing. There's no sprint, so there's going to be a question mark icon. When you press F2 in the second room, it's going to load up. And you could probably put the question mark in the first room. So in the beginning room, which I can test this out, but in the beginning room there's no question mark. Okay, so it's not gonna load up here. It's gonna load up when you move to the second room. So the question mark's here in the second room. It's visible, and it's going to play the gain sound. So when you press the F2 button, it's going to play the gain sound, and make sure you destroy the background sound for the first room. Otherwise, it's going to overlap in the second room. Then make sure in the second room you play the rain sound, because if you don't have that in there, it's not going to have that rain sound audio. For some reason, there's a glitch there a little bit. So, because I have pressed the load, and then when I moved to the second room, it didn't play the rain sound. And also, the sky was not there; it was black. So you also have to add this back in the game. This D3D set fog true CDK gray 10500. So this does the sky color. So make sure that this is in the game. I mean, this is in with the load. If you don't have this in here, this code, then it's not going to load up. This code is also in with the player for the player object. This code's in there with the player object, but it doesn't load up for some reason. It works fine when you first play the game, but when you go back to it, when you load it up, you got to have this code in here. Otherwise, the sky's gonna be black, even though it's in the player object. It's weird. Then you're gonna have it load. So, see, file name is called save game. So, if you want to change the name to something else, like save or save this game or whatever you want, make sure that name is the same for the save as it is for the load. So if you change this to save, make sure that your save object is called save and your load is called save as well. Otherwise, it's going to probably give you an error, or it's not going to work correctly, because it makes a file on your desktop that you saved it. Alright, so that's pretty much it. That's how you do the save and load. But let me take out this this question mark here and put it in the first room just to make sure it works, which I'm sure it does. And then you could change that text to just say press F2 to load game, instead of having all this information right here. It says once you start playing. Let me just make sure it works first, which I'm sure it will. No, it does not. It does not. See how it's messed up? And I don't know why it's messed up. I think it's because this first room is not 3D. See, in the question mark here, I have it stated that in the D3D underscore end. So I don't want this this first screen to be 3D. I want it to be flat, so I think that's what's causing the problem. And that's why I have the save in the second room, because it loads up fine in the second room, because the second room is 3D, but the first room is not 3D, so that way the images look flat on screen, because this is a basic background image, flat background image, and I think that's why it's causing issues with it loading correctly. So make sure when you load it up, it's in the first room of the 3D realm, not on the first room where it's just flat. I think that's what's causing the problem, because you want the game not to be 3D in the first room, because you want to have it to look flat, and that's what this is. It's flat. It's just a background image, and it's flat. So that's probably why it's not loading up correctly. So in the second room, that's where you want it to load. Well, actually, first room of the 3D realm, you want it to load there to move to the second room. So don't put the load on the first screen where you end in the 3D. If this was not in 3D, if this was not flat, then it probably would work. But since the code says in 3D because you want to make it flat, then that's why it's not loading correctly. Okay, so we got that talked about. One other thing here is going to be the ice. The ice is this blue square here. I changed the snap to 1 when I did this, because 16 is great for the walls to get them exactly where you want it at, but when you do ice, you want to make sure it's at 1, 1. You do 0, 0, it's going to be red up here, because GameMaker won't let you do that. It's got to be at least 1, 1. So then 1, 1 means that you can set it pretty much anywhere in the game without it snapping. So, and you want that because you can't just place one ice square there and expect to slide on it. It doesn't pick it up for some reason. In the fake 3D world, it doesn't work. You have to layer it up. So you make sure that you layer it up, like have 4 of them in that one location, and make sure that they're kind of layered up on top of each other, so that way you will truly slide across it. Because sometimes you'll slide and sometimes you will not if you only have one blue square there. So it's weird. Then after you slide on it, it's going to be destroyed. And then I have the blue squares also layered up in the same fashion as down in this location. So when he slides on this, he's going to hit that firewall and die. Make sure you don't have these patches anywhere close near the corner walls, because you may get stuck in that location. So make sure it's away from the corner walls here, so when you slide you won't hit the wall and you can't get out of it for some reason. Even though that the ice may be destroyed, you still won't be able to get out of it for some reason. So just be sure that it's not in that corner wall location. Excuse me. So let me show you how to do that. So in the ice, when the object player or the object in player collides with it, it's gonna play the gain sound, which kind of makes that sound where you slide across the ice. After 5 milliseconds, alarm 0 is going to kick in, and it's going to destroy the ice. Same thing's going to happen with the object player. When you land on it, it's going to slide. He's going to slide, and then it's going to destroy the ice. And then you have a draw image, and this draw image is it's basically the same. It's the same thing as I did for the plants. It's the same code. The only thing I did was changed it to text_ice, and then I changed these numbers to 15, the X and Y's, but just to stretch it out, but it didn't stretch for some reason, so I just left it at 7. Keep this at 1. That's going to be above the floor, but it's going to look like it's flat. And this also, if you make this 0, then it's going to be below the floor. You won't see it on screen. This 0 represents that's going to be at the floor level, and then this 1 represents that's going to be really, really close to the floor level, and it's going to look flat. I try to use a square object for ice, and it looked like it was like rotated up and in the floor, so it didn't look flat. So I used a plant image in the sprints under the textures. I used this text plant 2. I used this, and I just went into the edit, and then I went to save to my desktop, and I loaded that image into a new object for textures here, and I went to modify. And what I actually did was I went into the edit, and then I did animation clockwise, and then I deleted all the images I wanted except for one that's at the angle. Then I blurred it in the image area, and I also cut areas here where it was the image was over the square image here where it was cut off, so I just kind of cut that out using the selection area, cut that out, and then I used the airbrush to airbrush in this location here a little bit so it doesn't look like it's cut off from the screen. Then I blurred it, and this plant image looks perfect. It looks like it's flat on the floor, whereas if I use a regular square image, then it would look like it's rotated up and it's inside the floor, and that didn't look right. So that's why I used the plant, because it looks flush and flat on the floor. And then okay, so then after that, then in the player objects, I made a step event, and here it's called if place underscore meets x plus 1 comma y plus 1 comma object ice. Then it's going to h speed going to equal to 6. So horizontal, he's going to go flying at 6 speed. Gravity's at 0. Make sure you don't go above 6. Maybe go 7, 8, and anything higher than that. Well, what's going to happen is he's going to go really quick, and he's going to go right past the bad guys and go right through the walls and everything. So it's going to mess it up. So make sure you keep it at a low number, like maybe 7, and lower than 7 will be great. But anything higher than 7, it's probably going to go way too fast when you go over top of the ice. And then I made sure to destroy the ice. That way, when you try to go back to it, it's not going to be there, because he may not move. So he's only going in one direction, and then it's going to be destroyed, like I talked about. And make sure you have it set up for both object player and the end player as well, because that way it'll work for both player objects. So, I had it set to x comma y plus 1, but it didn't seem to slide all the time, and so I had to change it to x plus 1, y plus 1, and then he seems to slide all the time now on the ice. But that only happens when you kind of layer it up here really close using the 1 and 1 for snap y and x. If you only have one blue square, he doesn't slide all the time, and that didn't work correctly, or it didn't work to my satisfaction. So you got to make sure you layer it up a little bit in one location. Be sure you don't go over, put it in this area here too close to the corner areas of the wall, because you may get stuck. It might slide at an angle, and you get stuck in the wall and you can't get out of it, even though that the ice is destroyed after you slide on it. I don't know why, but just don't put it anywhere near the corner areas of the wall. Okay, thanks for watching. I will put this up there on YouTube, and you can mess around with it. I think I talked about everything. Like I said, all this information is the same I talked about when I talked about the plants and the columns, it's the same information. I just changed it to text image ice, text ice, which is that ice icon that's flat on the ground there. And let me just show you real quick the ice again, because I went over it briefly when I was talking about the save and load. Just show you that's on the floor and kind of flushed. See right there, it's on the ground there, and then when you go over it, you slide forward, and then when you look back, it's gone. And then I also, one other thing is, I also went to modify, and it's precise. I have it on precise. I don't have it on rectangle or disc or diamond. I have it set to precise. Precise seems to work the best. Okay, well, thanks for watching.